116. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Is St. Patrick's Day celebrated all over the world? Do we know?
I think so.
Are we doing green drinks today?
Yes.
Is that a thing for everybody?
Yes.
Then
I
happy
put on my
St.
green
Patrick's
outfit.
Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. Welcome to the TFW podcast. I am Matt, your host, joined by my esteemed co-host, Eshaun, Rhodesia. Let's get this party started. We starting with The Rock, right?
I think we kind of have to.
I mean, we could start with Mercedes. She has the wrestling world ablaze also, but it's up to y'all. Where do y'all want to start? Y'all want to go with Dwayne setting the internet on fire again and setting SmackDown on fire and having to have creative guy put messages out on Twitter because they're talking about his segments are running long, and Brian is like, his segment was 30 seconds less than the 20-minute allotted time. So Brian needs
We're
to
here.
do what
We're here.
He needs to do what I said months ago. Shut the fuck up, it's The Rock. That's it. These folks out here, I swear. Now, yes, The Rock is one of our GOATs. But the amount of people, and it is the minority, but the amount of people I'm seeing complaining and bitching and moaning about the amount of time Rock's getting on TV. Like, come on, guys. See, this is one of those moments where it's like, all right, you're a little too insidey. A little too insidey. Because everybody is excited to have The Rock back. The Rock is a bona fide legend in our game. And you sitting here bitching and moaning about the amount of time that he has. Come on, man. Come on. But anyway, anywho, E, let's start with you. So Dwayne basically made fun of your guy crying on Monday. And he said that was your chance to come back. And what do? You start crying. As a fellow Cody crybaby, as a fellow Cody fan, how did that make you feel? Are you like, hey, this is just the business, or are you starting to work yourself into a shoot a little bit?
You know, I don't have a problem with Cody crying because you know what? Because as an older man myself now, I find myself tearing up at random things. I talk about my family too and how important they are to me. All right, I can't talk about. I was talking to Matt the other day. My dad, God bless him, he turned 78 years old, and I didn't realize that he was that old.
Shout out to that. Shout out to that.
But what I realized is that, you know, since moving to Georgia, that I only see him maybe twice a year. He comes down to visit me for Thanksgiving. I come down and visit him during the summer. And I'm like, man, you know, in the past 5 years I've been here, I only see him twice a year. And the thought of it started tearing me up. I started talking about my family, what's important to me. I started tearing up. So that's why I feel something for Cody. That's why he's so relatable from the core fans. Now, here's the thing about The Rock. His ad, oops, we got company, so I can't go in like I want to. I got company. His butt, he going over the line, y'all. His ass is going too goddamn far. Talk about his mama. We bringing Mama Rose into this. Dwayne, I refuse to call you by a mineral anymore. You're Dwayne. Mr. Johnson, you going too far, son. We talk about mamas. See, this is what I'm talking about. See, he's going too far because as a older black man, he should be bringing up the black culture in the community. And what's he doing to Cody? He tearing the young man down. He ain't bringing that young black brother up with him. He tearing him down. He tearing down his mama. That's when he's going too far. I am no longer a Rock fan.
Whoa, and there it is.
I am no longer a Rock fan. You bringing our mamas into the equation? Okay, talk about the daddies. We built for this. Okay, that's cool. You bringing in the mamas? No, sir. You've gone too far, guys.
He turned you. He finally turned you. The Rock is doing his job because if Eshaun, when we just did our top 20 list, what you have? You had him top 3, right? You
Yep.
have him 3rd or 2nd, I think.
Second.
Maybe second.
Love it. This is what it's about. This is the emotion we are supposed to have. And if Roman Reigns gets his hand raised on night 2 because The Rock interfered.
God, dog.
Oh,
Hey, Matt,
goodness.
Roman Reigns, who? We should talk about that guy?
Hey, they got next Friday or this Friday. Got to heat it up.
He still go there?
Man, face to face with Cody. All right. this is this is your opportunity to put the onus back on Roman and Cody for night 2 of WrestleMania and sell that. They've done an incredible job of selling the tag match. They've done an incredible job of making us feel like, what does The Rock mean by saying he'll make Seth's title go away? Which Drew actually kind of shouted out The Rock on Raw Monday. So I think we got something going there. They're doing a fantastic job of making us want to see Rock and Cody, but they really ain't done much around Roman and Cody. So getting a face-to-face on SmackDown should be pretty fantastic. I have a question for both of you. And Rhodesia, I'll start with you because E's answer probably won't change. How is this run for you impacting Rock's legacy?
He's about Rock's run?
Yes.
I think he can't get much higher than 2 because, again, Undertaker is number 1 on my list of all-time favorite wrestlers. And I think he will always be. But it's only going to make it better. It's going to make it... He already had such a legendary career already. So now you putting this on top of that already? Now, we got to also see him work. So let's also put that out there. The last time we saw him work, he was exhausted and he blew up pretty quick. But again, he doesn't do it all the time. But legacy-wise, this has only made it even grander to me. Because you get somebody like Eshaun, who had him number 2 on his list, now hates him.
Chopped him all the way down.
Like, I mean, come on. Like, that's
got Sky
it.
Blue now over The Rock. That's nuts.
You seen her lately? You put her over him too.
Oh man, she's already in my top 5.
Yeah.
She's
We
already
not
in my
top. Wait,
5.
stop. What top 5s are we talking about here?
Oh, that's a good call. You're right. My bad. Yeah, she's not that high yet then. Yeah, I thought about it, and there is a possibility when this run is all said and done. Meaning when we finally do get Rock Roman, how that plays out. I actually might move him to number 1 over Austin. I'm thinking that highly of what he's doing right now. It's that entertaining to me. Like, I look forward to these Friday afternoon Instagram drops. And he hasn't missed yet. And there was some talk online about people are upset because his language. Maybe some of the other talent is saying, well, hell, if we can go out there and curse, we could be over too. But you couldn't. But you can't. Because Seth was just on Twitter 2 weeks ago calling Drew a bitch, and I think calling Rock a bitch. He's not anymore over. Drew is showing you creatively how to use social media to get over. He's another one that is batting 1,000 right now. But that's how much this run is doing. He's playing all the hits in a good way. Typically you can come back and play the hits and it's just all right, you're coasting.
Yep, you're a legend act and you just going through your thing.
And he's not doing that at all. Mm-hmm. The Rock concert, some people may not have liked it. I think the majority really, really enjoyed it. But to me, it lived up to The Rock having a concert. It lived up to Heal the Rock. Him bringing back the music. And then flipping it midway through the entrance song. Not just coming out with that music. And even if, we don't get that again. Say that was just a one-off because, hey, I'm doing the Rock concert and I'm want to bring it back for people who appreciate it, who enjoy it. That's playing the hits the right way. That's playing the hits where it's thank you for doing that. That meant something opposed to him just kind of coming out and doing the thing. And even how the music hit and how he walked to the ring. Much more slow and much more methodical. And then hitting that line at the end of his promo. And it was he shows the goosebumps all the time. That's goosebump worthy material. And to think that allegedly this was, we already said it. I don't think this was the plan, but this wasn't the plan to start. I can't imagine
that makes it even that much more
Rock
grander.
and Roman's build being as good as this. In a short amount of time, right? If they would have went with the press conference, Rock and Roman, and then to try to tell the entire bloodline story leading up, it wouldn't have been this because he wouldn't have been the heel. And Rock heel is what's best for business.
Cream rises to the top under pressure or just at any point. So when you get somebody as good as The Rock, and he has been, and a pivot happens, this is when the cream of the cream goes to the top. So, I have a quick question for you. I know Matt kind of asked you one. Even though you didn't like what he said and him, I didn't think he was personally attacking Cody's mom. I think he was just saying, hey, you're going to be in the front row. You're going to watch and witness.
Keep her name out your mouth, Rock.
Yeah, right. So,
keep her name out your mouth,
So I could appreciate that a little bit.
Mama
but
Rose.
you can't agree that this shit is entertaining as hell since he's been back. Wouldn't you agree to that at least?
Oh yeah, he's entertaining, definitely. I mean, that's the thing about The Rock that stands him above like other wrestlers. He's an entertainer. He gets what wrestling is and what it's all about. It's always been about the entertainment. It's always been about the charisma. It's always been about the mic, and he captures all of that. Yeah, he's an entertaining man. That's why he translated so well to the box office, right? That's why his movies are great, and we enjoy his movies because he is a personality, personality unlike any we've seen. I'm just very interested to see what the Roman got to do because he's been like I said before, he has a quiet confidence about himself. He's not over the top. He's not really dramatic. I feel like his music is even underwhelming a lot, to be honest with you.
But in comparison to The
It's
Rock,
interesting. Oh yeah.
You're
Everything.
talking about just in comparison to The Rock.
And his music it's to me, I think it's very generic.
so even when he first got the music, so when
I never.
separated,
I'm not a fan, but I think it fits his character because he's kind of like a I won't say a slow burn, but he has like a he's like a fire that's just it's never out of control. It's just always burning. It's bright. It just comes right. It's not this big grand thing. His music's like that. It's just like a very. I think it fits him.
Well, to me, like his music was always, ironically, like the final boss of a video game. When you hear this music and you get to Bowser, the final time, this is that. So it's ironic that The Rock is now starting to call himself the final boss. But it's going to be entertaining, man. It's going to be entertaining to see what they do to really stoke the fire for Roman and Cody. If they do. Right, like maybe say, what if somehow all eyes are again on The Rock? I don't think Rock's not scheduled to be there, but something can happen where he takes front page again and they keep showing it. When he told Rock to acknowledge him, and The Rock acknowledged him, he did not have a smile on his face. He still had a worried, I guess you could say worried look on his face, and like he still knows that, yeah, you acknowledge me, but you and I both know. You're the head.
You can see the tension. You can see the tension, and which is beautiful, right? I love the storytelling. You know something's coming. We don't know when. It might not be WrestleMania night 1 or 2, but something's coming. It's going to be great.
I mean, if you think about High Chief and Tribal Chief, I would think High Chief would be the highest position.
Well, High
consider
Chief is
the name.
highest.
Exactly. So,
the highest.
And every time he talks about his grandfather, as he should and as he would, he always mentions High Chief. High Chief. So they're planning those little things out there that we still know at the end of the day, one time The Rock is the Dundada.
But yep, we are just, talking to Brandon. We were texting a couple days ago after he watched the segment, and he's just like, man, like this is incredible. Like for him, he's like, I feel like we're back in the Attitude Era, and I'm just like, man, like we can't take this for granted. What we have, WWE was already clicking on majority of cylinders, and now you add The Rock to it. And it's just like, this is what it's about, man. It really is.
Hey, Matt, when I was watching the segment with Rock, I'm like, I bet this is taking Rhodesia back when she was like 5 or 6 years old.
Oh, there it is.
She's
living
her.
I don't even know if I was born yet. Don't know if I was even born yet.
She was living her childhood back then. I'm like, this is great stuff.
I don't even know if I was born yet.
Oh, man. Eternal, shout out to our guy. He sent us a question right on brand with this. He said, I have a thought, and I want y'all to discuss on the pod. Do a double turn between Rock and Roman. Cody versus The Rock at SummerSlam after The Rock loses big. Roman return pop. The only thing I can't figure out is he says in every promo he's going to make Seth's title disappear. So we can take that last part first. I think that's Drew's title to get.
Mm-hmm. But aren't we all in agreement that Drew, again, assuming Drew has resigned, aren't we all in agreement that Drew is going to win?
Yeah, I think so. I think we talked about it, but I think it's just how you get there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Drew made a comment about The Rock on Raw last Monday, but for The Rock to say, I'll make that title disappear, like I'm going to be the one, not like, hey, Drew's going to beat you. So I think there's gonna be something.
But that
with
leads
The
up
Rock.
to the chaos that I keep
Yeah.
telling you about. I think it's going to just be from chaos from the moment of the tag team match on night 1 to the ending, and when the "thank you for buying a pay-per-view" WWE logo comes up. I think it's going to be chaos nonstop. So maybe
You went
that is
old
it.
school. Thank you for buying the pay-per-view. That is great.
How
What the
about
hell?
that, Eshaun? I wouldn't have remembered that if I was only 15 years old.
You
How
use
would you
it
even
quite
Google that?
often.
How would you even Google that though?
You use it quite often. I'm sure you figured it out by now.
What so what's your guys' thoughts about a pretty immediate double turn? And I say immediate because in the Eternal, hit me up and let me know if you mean something different. But my assumption is we don't see Roman again until SummerSlam. So we see him drop the title at Mania, either due to Rock's interference that backfires or whatever happens. Rock does his thing. We found out now he does have a movie that he's taping or he's filming from May to
August, right? First, I think.
no, July. So if the plan is for him to work SummerSlam, he can make it work. But so my assumption is Roman loses and Roman is not even there until SummerSlam when his music hits after Roman or Rock and Cody, or maybe he's the reason why Rock loses to Cody. So I guess the question here is, one, what do you guys think about a kind of immediate double turn? Because then what does that do if we're trying to hold Rock Roman off until WrestleMania? Because now you got almost still like another half a year to build to that. So just take that one first. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
I don't know if we have enough time to tell that story. So to get that double turn for us to be back invested in Roman being a good guy, we have 2 more Fridays left until Mania. And then if this is all supposed to happen at Mania and then Roman goes MIA, where is the storytelling going to be? I mean, Rock will have to do some really dirty stuff like at Mania, night 1 and night 2, for us to get Roman to be a good guy, and then for us to remember that over these next 3 months. That might be a bit challenging. I like it. I just don't know how we would get there.
If these guys were full-time competitors, I think it would be great, right? Just the thought of it, the storyline possibilities are great, but it's just as Rhodesia said, these guys, we don't, after Mania, we don't know when we're going to see these guys next, be able to tell that story, right? So we're going to get, we get some kind of double turn on a Mania. We might not get the continuation until the summertime. That's a long time to get, I would say, uninvested in a storyline, right? Because a lot of things happened between that time frame, right? They're going to have to run back with clips, whatever. So whatever their next stage on the storyline with Rock and Roman, it'd have to be in a time frame to when they're going to have enough time like this to be able to actually tell it. I don't know if, April and then continuing it in March is going to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, but that's
not March, April, August.
But that's if they're waiting to do the match at Mania. They may end up doing something. I still don't think it's going to be in Saudi, but they could do something like on Netflix to start the Netflix, WWE family conglomerate. Hey, our first show is Rock and
okay.
Roman.
Let's take that back. So remember I said that it would be a disaster or failure if it's not WrestleMania Rock versus Roman. Mm-hmm. This is probably that only asterisk that if this is like Netflix deal and to start it, like you say, make this grand pomp and circumstances for it, that this would be the only time that I would want to see Rock and Roman not at WrestleMania.
Especially if you figure out coming off of Tyson and Jake Paul, could be some business there to be done. But I'm here. I guess the only thing that I am a little worried about is that they don't rush this and there's more to it. Like now that The Rock is calling himself the final boss, he's got to be the heel in this. So this is the perfect opportunity to turn Roman face. We knew that, hey, any great heel turn, how you make your money on your heel turn is through the face turn. Because typically when you are a heel, when you turn face, you are now an even bigger face than you were if you flipped or just for your first time. And I think for Roman, this is perfect. Even if this is by happenstance, because I think originally the plan was going to be Roman is the heel and Rock is the face. You got a beautiful opportunity to keep Rock heel, because we can start seeing how this could make Roman a sympathetic babyface. If he loses because of something that The Rock did inadvertently or not. And now The Rock tries to take over the bloodline, and we go through that entire thing. The fans will be there for a face Roman.
You know, I kind of feel like it'd be easier, right? Just due the time and like the schedule of these guys. It'd be easier to tell the story of a heel Roman versus a face Rock, because The Rock is already, people already want to cheer him. They're already there for him. It's easier to tell that story in a part-time manner without having to change roles to get people because Rock is still going to get the cheers, right? So now you're still kind of, oh yeah, he's getting cheers now, like, right? Because this is a great time for Rock right now, because I think he's doing a great job against Cody, and Cody's one of the most popular guys in the entire world of wrestling. And I think that Rock is doing a great job of showing people who he is. I think a lot of people may have forgotten. I think right now, it'd be easier for Rock just to go back to being the sympathetic. Well, I'm sympathetic. I think it's better for him to be face. Let Roman be the heel, and then you tell that story of Roman turning face after he's done with Rock business, because he'll be around enough to where he can kind of tell that story in another storyline with someone else.
So if it's not Punk, though, like, who else could it be? Like, Rock is the perfect, because he is so popular. And the reason why I kind of would wonder, and then, of course, everybody watching, listening, let us know what you think. There's still a lot of ones up when Roman throws the ones up. Mm-hmm. You know, and to your point about Cody, like, yeah, Cody got some boos during the Rock concert, but Cody comes out for the dark match, and he gets one of the biggest pops of the entire night.
That was cool.
Yeah, so, like, even the face-to-face a week ago when he slapped Rock, nobody was booing Cody. So yeah, like, it's, of course, in the vacuum of The Rock is out there by himself cutting a promo, being entertaining. Yeah, the people are going to boo Seth and boo Cody.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to happen though if they were in the ring face to face, 1-on-1.
And and this actually got my hamster on my wheel and my brain turning and spinning. Let's lead with Rock and Roman at SummerSlam, although I don't want it. But let's go there with it. Roman could come back before August. He can come back, let's say June, and start building for it. We know Rock is gone, but Rock can still do videos. He could still do promos. And as him being on the board, or if he want to tell the story that he's a movie star and he's on set, he can still put things like Roman has to come in because he is a tribal chief. He has to fight, blah, blah, blah. And then you can send the Tamatanga brothers. Are they free agents or something? Maybe Rock can still be a heel and a mastermind, not there physically, but have his presence be known throughout this time. So then come August, I can now see Roman being that baby face. I can see that working.
Man, Roman pops. Man, how many Roman matches did we get last year? I remember we got the Saudi,
5, maybe.
We got the Saudi, we got SummerSlam, we got Mania, right? And he only comes in. He doesn't promote those matches. What I mean by promote, he doesn't actually do storylines. He maybe twice, before leading up until the PLEs typically. Mm-hmm. That's not a lot of time.
And his deal is his deal. Right, I know. I know there's some thoughts about like, oh, maybe once he drops the title, he'll work more dates. No, his deal is his deal. Now, yeah, they can add more dates on, kind of like the same thing with Brock. Yeah, it's going to cost money to add them on, but I don't think his deal is backloaded for people who watch sports and understand contracts, where it's like, hey, we'll give you $40 million to start off with, but then it balloons to $80 million. You're like, I don't think this is a situation where it's like, hey, only work 5 matches in 2023, so then you can work 25 matches in 2024. I don't think that's the deal that we're getting.
I mean, so we're gonna turn a heel Roman who we see him 3 times every 3 months, and against a part-time. Stranger things can happen, right? But I just feel like it'll be easier to tell the natural story as it is, and then you can have Roman, because it'll be easier, right? Because for instance, let's say we got a heel Seth coming in or something like that, and he creates a whole new faction or something like that, whatever, right? It's easy for them to turn on Roman somehow and beat him down, leave him laying, right? Like, beat him down, leave him bloody, right? Get him sympathetic, and he's gone for another couple months because it'll fit the storyline, right? Then he comes back as the conquering hero. It'll be much easier for him to do this against an established full-time heel that's there more often. Maybe that's Punk, right? I'm not sure what Punk's deal is, but it seems like he's on some type of a part-time schedule that doesn't help his body either.
He's due back this week, right? The 25th or
next
25th?
Monday in Chicago.
Okay.
Yep. Did you see that? They scaled it down to the same stage they used at Survivor Series. So no big. They put those tickets on sale and they sold like the majority of them in one day. They were already, I think, at like over like 12,000 seats sold, and they put them up and sold almost 1,000 in one day. It's like just the business is incredibly high.
So then,
right now.
so they're coming.
Crazy.
He's going to be coming through the tunnel. The people, or the non-Titantron stage is what you're saying.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then they're using the same one for Mania, the Raw, and SmackDown, and then they're using the same one for Money in the Bank. So it's like the business has gotten so hot for WWE that they aren't even using their staging because they can sell so many tickets. Think about that. Unreal, man.
I don't like that though. I'm going to go on a record and say that I watch WWE a lot for their production. So to me, granted, sitting at home, I'm still going to get the same production watching it on TV. But being there, I don't like that. I want my
Survivor
time.
Series was still fun though. Like I didn't have a problem with the stadium ones. The ones I have the issue with. That's not Mania.
With stadiums and the Survivor Series, I didn't either because I couldn't see. I'm 4'11". I can't see.
The
only people I saw. I think I saw.
Maybe when you get older, you get your.
I'll grow a little bit.
Right. Ain't that right? A couple quick hits for SmackDown. AJ Styles versus LA Knight. I asked on X, if you're not following us, follow us. That's FNW. Thoughts. And the majority of people said, hey, they're here for it. They know it's going to be a great match. AJ's probably be able to give LA Knight, best match of his career. Mm-hmm. Sounds good. Hey, if he's not going to be for a title, why not AJ? But a couple people are with me.
Which is?
This match does nothing for me.
Wow.
Does nothing for me.
But is it because maybe how you feel toward one or both?
It feels like, for me personally, not for the fans, because he's still over. It was one of those, all right, it's time to shit a girl off the pot with LA Knight. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying just throw him in an IC title match or world title match. The Logan Paul's belt is going to be his belt until SummerSlam. It's in his hometown. But it's getting to that where it's like, if you don't at least put him in a major storyline, I'm kind of like, all right, man, like, just, I guess let me know when it's time to pick you back up. Because
that's how I felt about him last year.
Yeah, it's not a missed opportunity or a wasted opportunity because you can't see somebody at the top of the card that you would say, hey, flip them out with LA Knight. Mm-hmm. But that's just how he's kind of stagnant to me currently as is. And we know LA Knight's we know him and AJ's going to put on a great match, but I haven't really been that high on AJ either. He's been better since he's come back.
And he looks much better.
Yeah, but it doesn't do me anything for me. Which side of the fence are you guys on?
I'm there for it. I'm all the way there for it. There's no doubt that LA Knight isn't as big as we probably all wanted him to be at some point. We know AJ Styles kind of hasn't either. We all agree that since he's come back, he's been better. But every time I see kind of them together, I do get a certain feeling inside that I want to see them go. The chair shot, just the intensity. I guess his name is Daddy, right? I just heard that.
These kids just did a run in. I don't know if you guys heard that or not.
The intensity that I saw after the chair shot, I felt it. So for me, I am there for it.
Okay. Oh, he just took off. I think the kids got to him.
I would think that he probably would say no. I probably think he would say I don't give a crap about it. But it'll be a good match.
I'm good with it. I'm good with the match. Yeah, I'm good with it. Like I know what it is. I mean, LA Knight. I'm still for LA Knight. I still think he's nice. It's just that there's only so many top heels they have right now. I mean, when he was face to face with Drew, I think he held his own in that Drew segment. It made me want to see that in a feud with them in the near future. I hope we get that. AJ Styles is AJ Styles. I think there's a place for AJ Styles. I think he's like that. If you want to say Rock's the final boss, I think he's like that mid-card boss. He's that guy that gets the next person ready. He's going to give him a good match. He makes the majority of the audience, of their core audience, enjoys AJ Styles still. He still gets a nice reaction from the crowd. I think it's fine.
Okay. What else you guys got from SmackDown? You got any quick hits?
Yeah, two things. One, that moonsault EO did off the top rope onto Bayley's face.
Haven't heard anything. She didn't react like it was major damage, but that could have been nasty 3 weeks before Mania.
That looked painful. That absolutely painful. And then outside of that, I was able to see the Jimmy responding and accepting Jay's challenge, and I like that. I mean, again, I'm used to, even though Jimmy is a bad guy, he's a heel, we still don't really get to see like that bad and that fire in him.
It ain't time for no jokey.
Yeah.
No yeet. It's time to get down to
but
business.
He in it with yeet. Like, I mean, like, to me, like, I was like, I like this Jimmy. He like, you little brother. Listen, you little brother. And I told you, I've always got you.
I raised you. Like, dude, y'all like 7 minutes apart, man. Like, what's going on in that household?
But, man, leave it to, and they're not even brothers, but leave it to, like a black brother. Believe it to a brother to say, I raised you and I'm only 7 minutes older than you. Just like E thinks he's my grandfather. We're only a few years apart. I mean, but I liked seeing that from Jimmy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I forgot to ask you guys last week, just quick thoughts on the Prime sponsorship deal. When Logan came out there and said that, hey, going forward in PLEs, the Prime bottle logos will be in the middle of the wrestling ring. We knew Vince hated logos. He detested it around the ring, not even on the ring, but we've seen it in WCW. We've seen it in AEW. I think for WWE only fans, it may be a little jarring at first. I do think it is going to just blend in. But what's your guys' thoughts about having that logo smack dab in the middle of the ring?
Vince is rolling over in his grave, right?
Rolling over in his grave.
I think you said that. Wrestling is pop culture. I think what made it kind of stagnant before was that it didn't evolve with pop culture. Yes, your authentic diehard, especially WWE fans, they will probably say, "Why are we doing that? You're the integrity of the business of the company. Why are you doing this?" But you gotta keep up. I'm okay with it. It is probably going to be weird seeing it for a few weeks, and eventually it would just fall into like background noise to me. So I'm cool with it.
Hey, let them get that money, whatever. Maybe they can give me some back. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we can lower some of these ticket prices, lower some of these things I got to pay for, because like they get it in so many different ways, right? Like, because Logan Paul and Prime had to spend some money. They had to put some coins on the table,
of course,
for them to do that, right? So I was like, damn, these dudes is just rolling. It's like Scrooge McDuckin all day long over there,
right
man.
now, man.
Hey, let's deflate some of these prices, goddamn it. You know what I'm saying? So that way, when Big Daddy got to come up in here this summer, I ain't paying $150. I'm paying, AEW prices. Give me a $49.
$89. No, you probably gonna get $89 at the lowest.
Have they announced a return show in Georgia yet?
They have not, but historically they come around July, which is right around my son's birthday usually. So we'll see.
Cool. Last thing WWE related before I got a women's question for you, Rhodesia. Thoughts and prayers to Angelo Dawkins. He shared on Friday his mother passed away. So thoughts and prayers. Of course, we know how loss is just recently. That's never an easy thing. So hopefully he's good and his family's good. We know it's part of life, but damn, whenever you lose people close to you, it can sting. So hopefully he's doing well. So, Rhodesia, I said last week, and of course, you can chime in too, but I want Rhodesia to kind of speak on it from a woman's perspective. I think it's a little bit of fake outrage, to be completely transparent. I also think it's a little bit of, I have a fan base, and I need to make sure that they know I am an advocate for women's wrestling. But everybody knows we love women's wrestling on this pod, so I don't have to worry about that. But there's some people who are up in arms, allegedly, because one of the women's matches are not main eventing either night 1 or night 2 of WrestleMania. And by the two women's matches, I'm talking about the championship matches. I'm talking Becky and Rhea, and I'm talking Bayley and Io. Now, I'm seeing a lot of the story for both dictates one of them should main event. But here's the kicker for me. I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with is their resolution for night 1 is to put Rock and Roman versus Seth and Cody first to kick the show off, and then have one of those said women's matches as the main event. What is your thoughts from a woman and a woman's perspective? Your thoughts about the women not main eventing But in order for them to main event, would you put that tag match as the opener on WrestleMania Night 1?
I'm not even going to answer that full question. I'm going to just address the whole. Well, I can, but the point of what I want to get across is the women main eventing WrestleMania. You can't just say just point blank they're right or they're wrong, because I know that there is writers and you have to tell this story over time, and you just cannot tell me that Rhea, Becky, Bayley, and Io is more entertaining than anything to do with The Rock. You just can't, to me. So again, we could take the whole question of them put Rock and the tag match first. We know that kind of the new plot or the new show run is you put one of your hottest matches first, and then you can main event with your next hottest one. So I get that part there, but it's The Rock. Now, again, I can come on here and argue and say that over this last 2-3 months, we should have built it to where I feel like I have to see Becky and Rhea, but I don't feel that way. I want to see The Rock on my TV screen, because I'm not going to be there live unless miracles happen. I want to see Rock end it on both nights. So for me, I do feel like a lot of times we want to progress as whatever box that we're in, and that's okay. And we should advocate, and we should champion it. But like I said, this probably on the first 10 or 15 episodes of this show, I'm going to hold people to the same standards regardless on if it's male or female. And to me, I do not think, for me, that I will be happy or think that it's more entertaining to see. Again, I'm using Rhea and Becky because they're like the biggest, like hottest women are right now. To me personally, I like Io and Bayley more, but I think as the mass majority, I think Rhea.
I think that may be about 50-50 if you were to do
so?
a legit, yeah. Because
storyline,
that story's been going on for 2+ years.
Storyline, I like Damage Control, and that is actually the one I am looking more forward to. But I'm just looking at the pops that Rhea and Becky are getting, and I just feel like I can see why some people will feel that way. And some people can truly feel that way, not because they're trying to put over women, but because they truly feel that way because they're big fans of them. Just like how I'm saying right now, I'm a big fan of The Rock. I want that show to go off, and I see that thank you for purchasing this pay-per-view logo.
There it is.
I want to see Rock on there at the end of both. So to me, if you take Rock out of it, I can absolutely say, why don't we have a women match on there? But then I can go on and just say a whole lot of different things of why we don't have even more women matches. I mean, I can go down that road. But as far as just to address that one question, how do I feel about a women match not main eventing night 1 or night 2? It's almost like, I'm sorry, with the most respect possible, shut up, it's The Rock.
Man, I wouldn't even go that far with it, because that's y'all crazy tagline for everything Rock related. But
shut the fuck up, was The Rock.
Yeah. I should hit the soundboard on the booth for that one.
You can't pull that, man.
Oh yeah. But I think the women supporters of wrestling are very, very vocal. You should see, like, on the wrestling game front, like, man, they like, if you don't get, like, we need more wigs. It's crazy, like, how they get these wigs, like, how that term is just thrown out there, man. They are super loud advocates of women wrestling. I get it. And I think if it's another people, you can probably get away with that. But as you said, with The Rock, and it's such a huge match. If you put all these matches, just put them all, like, on the board, and you list them like the most important, or from the top to bottom, I think the one of the women matches would be there just because we gotta put a women's match there, not because it's a bigger match with bigger personalities and more at stake.
I agree.
Right? Mm-hmm. I think we would be doing it. I don't think that does them justice, right? There have been times when, where for me, they're at, with the Sasha and Mercedes, or Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair match. That was the importance, and what that match was. That was there. But man, I might have a hard time with that match
against The Rock
over the storyline that we have right now. And that's the key thing. It's not just the matchups, and that's what it kind of would have been with Rock and Roman, because we didn't necessarily have the story to support it. But there's so much story and character now with these 4 men, and something at stake from night 1 to night 2, to where you got to put that at the end. That has to be the headliner. That's what people ultimately want to see, because that has the greatest story, the most intrigue right now in wrestling. So I don't think you do the women a disservice by putting them in a position to where like, hey, we're gonna put them here because we need to have a woman, right? Like I don't think any of us want to do that. I think as a black man, I don't like, hey, we gotta put him here because we need to have a black person in this position. I want to feel like it's earned. Now there are occasions, as I said with the women a couple years ago, to where that meant something. But right now, we gotta have the Rock.
Well, not even just The Rock. Think about it. Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and The Rock.
But now let me also say
that on first. Good luck to that crowd.
Oh yeah,
they're
done.
2.5 hours. Like, okay, who's topping that? From an emotional investment perspective, who's topping that?
No one. Not the women either. So now that my full statement is said there as far as that, I can agree that you do have Rock 2 nights. Why do we have to have Rock 2 nights?
You keep saying that.
Huh?
Rock is not on the card for 2 nights. He's only on the card for night 1.
Well, okay, sorry. He's going to be, okay,
Cody
Roman. Let's go Roman then.
Bloodline
is on 2 nights. Let's go Bloodline. I misspoke. So, yes, why is Bloodline on both nights? But we saw this last year. We saw this with the tag match, how it ended last year. So, again, I do feel like, okay, you do have the Bloodline twice. You don't have to have the Bloodline ended both nights. I can see why somebody would say that. But again, it just goes back to when people buy this pay-per-view, they're buying it. The majority of people are buying it because of The Rock and his influence. That's the fact.
No, majority is to finish the story. We're finishing the story.
Cody, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, again,
but he's attached to that. Once again,
that's what I'm saying. That's the point that I'm getting to.
Yeah.
And what happens in that match is going to bleed over to if he, like, right? Because
either way, it bleeds over to the main event.
It's still a question mark if he finishes his story, right? Mm-hmm. And like, what happens at the end of that match will kind of dictate what kind of story is going to be finished next night. I mean, I feel like it's a huge match.
Yep,
I get it. This is not the time for it.
Last thing I'll say on that. Then now we have the opportunity to make sure that we are building women throughout the year so that now if we are not main eventing, since WrestleMania is going to probably be 2 nights forever now, if they're not main eventing one of those nights, now we have a problem because they do, I'm not going to use the word deserve, but they should be main eventing.
Or you could say, hey, let's make a concerted effort going forward to night 1 is the winner of one Royal Rumble match and that champion. And night 2 is the winner of the other Royal Rumble winner and that champion. Whichever storyline gets hotter is the one we finish night 2 on. But,
I love that.
You can make that concerted effort to do that.
I love that.
This year just ain't the year.
Yep.
And if they wait till Rock and Roman next year with no title line, next year ain't the year either.
Okay, so maybe 26.
So come 2026.
How about we main event in both nights? The women main event in both nights.
You brought up Mercedes. Last pod, you were not too intrigued on the actual Dynamite show. You were excited to watch Mercedes. I'm gonna have you kind of talk us through your thoughts about. I guess we can stick with Mercedes first. If you want to talk about the whole show, feel free.
Oh yeah, definitely. We all saw Mercedes Mone debut on AEW television, Big Business, and she did big business. Right, we had almost 10,000 people at that arena, so you can't say that she's not a draw, right? Because she drew 10,000 people at that arena. She also, in her first segment, she did 1 million views, right?
Woo. Go ahead.
Now, girl. That's big that
that
many people tuned in, right? Now, that's one metric, so it could have been more, right? But I think ultimately she big business. Before we get into like the ratings and the overall show, for me, I thought that she did I know there was some discord around if she should have opened the show versus ending the show.
Let's talk.
I was a proponent of her opening the show, her with the mission statement. I think they did a great job with her. You know, the show starts off with a Mercedes, pulling up, Mercedes limousine pulling up, the door opens. All of a sudden, you start. They get to the arena. You hear CEO, the new music, which is performed by Mercedes Mone, which I didn't know until actually I looked at it on the iTunes page. And she comes out. She cuts a very heartfelt promo. She seemed to have the emotion in her voice, like she was on the borderline of tears talking about a wrestling mentor. I thought it was a great segment. I thought it was a great moment for her, possibly. And I don't know, the word is she might be the highest paid women's wrestler in the world, which is great. Like, right, like to move those barriers. Why would
she not be?
Yeah.
She's the
Move those
latest
barriers.
woman to sign a contract, right? Like, so if, once again, we're talking about sports, we know how it is. Somebody has to set the market. Now, AEW may be on a whole nother pay scale. Like, Ospreay got broke off, Okada got broke off, Mercedes getting broke off.
They breaking some
million.
monies. They breaking some monies for these people.
That's the way it should be. Okay, now she just set the market. So the next hot free agent should set the market again. This should turn into that, which is, once again, makes the business so much better for all the talent involved. So overall, 2 thumbs up, way up for you.
Yeah. Well,
on
I
what
was
she did.
very happy with her entire situation. Happy with her presentation. I thought that was a home run hit that she came out there and did. I was very, very satisfied with it.
Same here. My dumb butt, when she first pulled up, I'm like, oh my God, that's a Bentley pulling up. I'm like, wait, that emblem. I'm looking. I'm like, wait. Oh, that's a Mercedes. I'm so stupid.
You had a reader's zone. That's all.
I didn't have a reader's zone. And so then she came out. Even if I wasn't even the biggest Sasha fan, or Mercedes fan, because I don't think I really am the biggest Mercedes fan. That's not, I think I'm not the biggest Mercedes fan. When she came out, though, I see why she got broken off. I see why she's about to be the leader of the women's division there. She's a star. Money bags, fire emoji. It
screams it.
Her outfit she had on, like, just every time she disrobed, she had another layer of goddessness, if that's even a word. I mean, just overall, when you can't take your eyes off of her. Every little way she moves, her mouth, her body, her hands, her hips, her little things where her little, I call it the Mariah Carey hands. All of that. Your eyes are locked on the screen for her.
And I think to your point about, do you start the show or do you end the show? Rhodesia and I had a conversation about this a couple days ago. That was the only option. She wasn't advertised. So you run the risk. And yeah, we knew that she was going to be at the show. But to your point, 1 million people tuned in at the beginning of that show. If you don't make a mention of her, now as a casual fan who is tuning in, I don't usually watch AEW, I'm tuning in to see Mercedes, and you just start off with a hot match or with Tony Schiavone in the ring to do a promo segment with somebody else, I'm probably not turning back until somebody calls me or until I see on social media Mercedes is in the ring. That was the only way to do it, and I thought it was fantastic. Of course, I love the segment. Like you guys said it. She's a star, and it has nothing to do with how they shot her. It does, but it has nothing to do with how they shot her. Has nothing to do with her music. It does. Has nothing to do with her outfit. It does. It's her. It's how she comes across. That is somebody
it's her confidence
that oozes it.
There you go.
We talk about it. And when somebody has it, they have it. And a lot of times you can't put your finger on it, but when you see that thing and that person, you say, man, that's what it is. And that is what she is it. I loved her line in there where she said, I need to be here. I want to be here. AEW is the only place where the revolution can be global. And I love that because there was a lot of that talk online of she cut that, she had the podcast interview. I think it was a podcast. I know it was an interview. And she basically said, like, I still have unfinished business in WWE. I'll be back there. But no shit, man. We all know that.
Right.
Like, it's these tribalistic fans that don't understand that everybody's going to go everywhere at some point. Anybody who wants to, right? Like Ospreay talked about, he picked AEW over WWE because the money was better and he didn't have to move his family. He's like, this is a no-brainer for me. Like, yeah, I can go to WWE and be famous and work WrestleMania, or I can get everything else through AEW. But for some people, that's like MJF is going to go to WWE one day.
Yeah.
And it's going to be incredible to see him on a WrestleMania stage, killing it, as MJF, a little bit toned down, of course, but as this is going to happen. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Cody Rhodes goes back to AEW. I don't think so, because I think he's submitted now as like the John Cena of the next generation. But say if he wasn't that and he was still just the biggest face in WWE at a point and his contract is up, I could easily see him going back for a year or two run just to tie loose ends up. But that's for me where I think Just This Business is going to get to. So we all love the Mercedes piece. Tell you what else I love too is her first physicality with Sky Blue. And she laid that forearm in, and Sky Blue did a hell of a job of selling it. And that was so important because that was the first piece of physicality that she was going to have on AEW. That forearm shiver is what all the media outlets were going to pick up on outside of her promo at the beginning of the night. If you mess that up, you're in trouble. Just like Cody had to lay in that smack to The Rock, which was a harder smack than what The Rock hit him on the press conference. You got to lay it in. Got to lay it in because that is what everybody's going to pick up on. And if you can see through it, then you go through that whole thing. We know what that looks like. Did you guys like the finish at the end of the show? You got her coming out to save Willow. So she showed that, okay, she is a face because the woman who she was in the match with where she broke her ankle or she hurt her heel, whatever it was, she didn't attack. Are you guys good with that, or would you rather her not have shown up again? Would you rather her shown up and did something else? Talk to me about the end of Dynamite.
For me, I think they should have did a better job of actually let viewers know that she's going to be back at the end of the show. As a segment itself, I thought it was fine.
Okay.
I liked her coming out. Had no problems with it either way. I know we talked about it briefly. We talked about it on the last episode. We talked about the actual card itself. So we knew Mercedes is coming out. And this is the thing about AEW. We talked about a lot about it. A lot of great wrestling on TV right now. A lot of great TV on wrestling right now. WrestleMania season is full blown right now. Everyone's intrigued into it, and people only have so much time. So we got to kind of pick what we can watch. And this is a great opportunity to get all these eyes on the AEW product. And when you look at AEW, that main event did the least amount of views out of that show. I think that main event probably should have put somewhere in the middle. And I think this is something that AEW is going to fix. They're going to work on because they have a lot of positive things going for them, but this is some of the details you need to pay attention to so they can keep growing their audience, because WWE is hot and it's not going anywhere anytime fast. But what AEW can continue to do is build great shows with great stars. I don't know if you guys saw, I'm not sure if I share my screen right now, but they have an excellent promotion coming up for one of their shows. They have Mercedes right in the middle. They have Bryan Danielson right next to her. They got Swerve right below. On the bottom row, they have the Elite. They got Will Ospreay. They have like all their stars on the page, right? So this show, you're going to see an ensemble cast of like great talent, right? We didn't kind of get that with this show with the ratings. And if you look at it, every segment, they lost about 100,000 viewers or more, right? They started with 1 million. They ended the last segment at 627,000. The actual overall show, including the underrun, was under 800,000 people. Like right now, what if they would have started with Mercedes and they create some kind of a thread of her maybe interacting with different people or just popping up in the segment, letting people know that she was going to be in that last segment? Because if you look at that segment as a whole, we all love Willow, right? Riho, I like her, but it doesn't seem like a main event style match. And I think that was reflected in those reviews.
So, two quick points, something I really thought about, and I think I'm going to stick to it. So, to your point about the women's match, main eventing the show, I think that also speaks more to Mercedes is here. We're treating this women's division like it should have been treated a long time ago, starting now. If you need to take your lumps for a few weeks or a few months to get to that point, fine. In terms of from the ratings. But the point about the ratings, I thought about it. I think I'm going to stop discussing ratings, particularly when it comes to AEW, unless something significantly good or bad happens. And I'll tell you why just really, really quick. We know they're in contract negotiations with WBD. As is. They're looking at, for whoever knows how many years they're going to sign on for, $1 billion TV deal. Their ratings are good enough. to get $1 billion. Now, if their TV show starts to deteriorate again, and we go through this cycle that we've gone through plenty of times, right? Where they'll hit a few good shows and then it drops off and we're like, oh, what's going on? And then pay-per-view comes and we're like, oh man, pay-per-view was incredible. They got a chance to reset. They reset. It's good for a few weeks. And then, that vicious cycle. Absolutely. But I think about just like how I was extremely happy with that show on Wednesday. Full transparency, I don't watch Collision weekly. Like if somebody tells me something's good, I go and DVR it, and because I still DVR it. But like we were out of town, I didn't get a chance to watch last night's show, and I probably won't go back and check it. I'll probably just like watch the highlights, but then watch Dynamite. They're good enough to get a massive new TV deal with their fan base, and their show's been great ever since. We've had Ospreay, we've had Okada, which I think they're doing great with. Now we have Mercedes. Swerve is about to be world champion. They're moving almost everything forward the way I would want them to over the last, for me, it's only been a few weeks. I know some people feel like the last couple months, they've been really, really hitting on all cylinders. So I think to only be fair, we gotta start looking at this because we don't dissect WWE segment by segment. And they do some things that we're also like, that match was fine, but did we really need that? Or, that promo segment could have been better. Typically, we don't look and be like, all right, but man, that segment only did, granted, 1.5 million viewers in comparison. So I think we got to give them a little bit of grace there. And Jen Pepperman, from what I hear, she is more than just doing stuff with the women's division.
I think like a head writer or something like that, right?
She's like the VP, I think, of like creative for television.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, you're starting to see some of those things that make a little bit more sense now with threads and such. But yeah, so I kind of say all
I get what you're saying about the ratings because I know that I'm a wrestling fan, not just an AEW fan, and I want the show to grow. But what I would like to stop seeing, I'm not saying what you're doing, but I know that AEW touted the ratings and the demos when they were dominating. Now that they're not, we don't want to look at it or talk about it. There's something to be said with that because it shows a trend that you can fix. Because for me, it's not about, breaking down this company. It's about how can we fix things and move up. For me, it's always about how, all right, let me look at this lane, how we can fix it. And sometimes it's just pacing and how the shows are structured. And as I said last week, my biggest thing was, and you guys are coming for me a little bit. You're like, it's just not for you. Like, no, I just think that they could do a better, a little bit.
Now we were coming for you, E. We were coming for you with the whole Seth Rollins Roman Reigns thing, and you was loud and wrong, sir. You were loud and wrong. E, when was the last time Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins before the Royal Rumble has had a match?
It was 2019. But my point with that was. Let me ask you a question since we going back to that. My thing was on this show, we ran a storyline that Seth isn't as over with the audience as he thinks he is. His music, is more over than he is. Rhodesia said a couple days ago when all four of those guys were in the ring that he was the person that didn't belong in the ring. So we haven't been a fan of him and his act in quite some time. So for me as a fan,
whoa.
Oh, now I said something wrong. Now go ahead. What did I say wrong now?
You said that I'm not a.
Please
how do I go from first off? How do I go from saying that he's doesn't belong in those other three people versus I'm not a fan of Seth Rollins? Like, how do you change like that whole narrative for me? I just say he didn't belong with those three guys.
Anyway, so as I said, as a totality of the show,
no. I want you to answer my question since you're trying to call me out there. No, I never said I wasn't a fan of Seth.
What do you want me to correct so I can correct so we can move on with the show? Because we got to keep it going. What do you want me to say?
You said that because I said that Seth Rollins.
Are you a fan of his? Is that what we say? You've been a fan the whole time.
Okay. Absolutely. So, I'm the one who said Seth Rollins has been the MVP of wrestling, especially for WWE over the last 3 to 4 years. I have said that. I have receipts of that.
Okay, so Rhodesia's a fan of his. So Matt and I have said that maybe I don't even believe that actually. I think that his song's been okay. But we've been saying on the show collectively as a team that Seth Rollins hasn't been as over as his interest. So this a couple weeks ago he didn't belong in the ring with the other four people. So now it's a missed opportunity to have a match with Roman Reigns. I'm just saying I was looking forward to it. As a team, I didn't think we were looking forward to it. So I didn't know it was a missed opportunity.
No, all I was saying, and then of course we can move on. All I was saying was they had a missed opportunity. I'm not saying it should have been the main event of this WrestleMania, and that's what I kind of think you thought. I was saying like we need to flip out Cody, we need to take The Rock out, and then go Roman and Seth. I wasn't saying that.
He wasn't a missed opportunity on any PLE is what I was trying to say.
I think so. I do think so.
I think you just
so.
don't like Seth. I think that's just what
he
it
hates
is.
Seth.
And you're projecting. That's all that is. So that's what you're not gonna project on me or on my character.
So let me ask you a question,
character.
Rhodesia. Let me ask you a question, Rhodesia, so you can calm it down. Because I think you. How many times did your husband? How many times did your husband say that Seth Rollins wasn't as over as his entrance music?
He says it
How
all
many
the time.
times?
He says it all the time.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that Seth is not a good worker. I think that's the difference. You're a lot like these internet fans. Like
I'm not talking about him being a worker.
And then now you're taking, but just overall.
Because
just
I don't watch
Eshaun.
wrestling to see workers. That's I look for characters. We called him a clown all week.
You can have a constructive criticism on somebody and still be an avid and can be an absolute fan of that person. That's what we do with AEW. We're constructive with AEW because we are huge. Well, I'm a huge AEW fan. So you can absolutely say something and say that his music is more over than him. That doesn't mean that you don't like the person anymore.
We also didn't like most of his matches this year.
Who said that?
That was more the feuds. Yeah, that was not
Who
Nakamura
said that? I've never said that.
Yeah, I didn't like the Nakamura feud.
Nakamura ones, we talked about that. But wait, let's go back to Mone.
Not his matches.
We're circle jerking again. Back to Mone.
And Nakamura has one more feud before we gotta have a conversation about him on this pod.
Or at least one more feud with that same MO.
I don't care what the MO is. I don't care who it is. He's got one more feud before we get on this platform and have a serious conversation about him. I'm sorry, E. Go ahead, man.
All right, he's a mid-card guy. He's fine where he is. But
gimmick.
If he comes off with this cartoon one more time and lose, I'm gonna fucking flip.
But no, like we just, it's just like, when you look at the shows, like it's just, as you said, it's just constructive. It's not that I'm an AEW hater or I don't prefer the show. It's that I noticed that show, I didn't think if you're not a core wrestling fan, you look at that show, it wasn't something that's going to maintain an audience that doesn't normally watch. I thought they should have come out there with
after the show, like after watching everything, do you still feel like it wasn't good enough to have somebody who may not necessarily start watching, or do you feel like, okay, no, they did enough? Yeah, maybe they didn't put the entire best foot forward the way you would have done it if you were the booker, but you feel like what you saw on Wednesday, if somebody doesn't typically watch, they would start watching AEW, or at least give it a chance again.
I mean, if you look at those Nielsen ratings, it shows that the people tuned in, they tuned out as the show went on.
No, I'm saying for you. I'm saying just to take the ratings out for what you saw with your own eyes. Was that entertainment factor enough?
As a wrestling fan, I never said I didn't. As a wrestling fan, I wouldn't be interested in the show. That wasn't my point. So yes, to answer the question, I thought as a wrestling fan. So this give you a better something that you guys aren't into as much as I am. WWE 2K24. I think it's the best wrestling game that's been out in a long time. Right? I can say that because I love the show. I'm a super fan of it.
Okay.
That doesn't necessarily mean that I think that maybe Rhodesia, who hasn't played the game in 10 years, when she turns it on, she's going to feel the same way I do. Because I don't think that game enough is going to bring in newer people. I think if you like the game, you're going to see the improvement, you're going to feel the improvement, and you're going to know what I know. It's the best one they put out in quite some time, right? But I don't think there's anything specifically about the game that's going to bring in a newer audience when I watch that.
Person.
And that's what I felt like when I looked at that card last night.
Which 2K game you got better than 24?
I don't. That's the best one.
So you have that as the best 2K game?
The best one.
So then which wrestling game do you have as the best wrestling game of all time?
Say what again?
Which wrestling game do you have as the best wrestling game of all time?
This one.
So not just 2K. You have it better than No Mercy, SmackDown versus Raw.
That 2000
WWE
version
Raw,
was crazy.
All of it. You have it as the best wrestling game ever made.
So like I can't go back to how I felt when I played those games, but when I play those games side by side right now, I mean, there's just so much more to do.
Got you. Okay.
The action, the graphics, so if I can somehow, take my feelings and during that time, maybe one of those games could have superseded, but right now, it's the best one.
And the problem is you can't go back because even if you went back and play, you like, what is this junk?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, talking 20 frames per second, all that kind of stuff.
And say this, I think you asked me about the final form. I think that 2K25, they keep progressing, would be better than 2K24. I don't think they finished with the game yet because it's not perfect yet either. But again, I can say that and still say, hey, this is the best game I've ever played, right? But also objectively say that I don't think it's going to bring in Rhodesia, who's probably not playing the games. Right, I can still say that it's going to be another one that's going to be better next year because this isn't done. That's how I felt when I looked at that AEW card. Like, yes, as a wrestling fan, I can appreciate and know exactly what they're doing and why they're putting certain people in places. But I also can look and say, like, you know what, Johnny, somebody who doesn't watch AEW or watch pro wrestling all the time, and they come in to see Sasha Banks for whatever reason, this ain't enough to keep them watching.
I get you. No, I got that. I do want to give them their flowers. I
have a lot of things to give them their flowers about today.
Yeah.
Which one is that? Which one is that?
That was CM Punk.
Coming
to y'all town.
I want to shout out Bryce Brinsberg, the referee, and I loved what he did, and during the match with Darby and Jay White, he made them break the count. We give AEW a lot of crap for their refereeing or lack thereof, no enforcement of the rules, and they're outside. It was a spot, they're outside, so all three of them are outside. And Bryce is like, get in the ring. You got to break the count. And Jay looked at him.
Jay didn't want to do it at first.
Yeah, and then he did it again, and it had nothing to do with the match. That's how I know it was more of him just protecting the rules. Like, look, man, like, if you're going to stay out here, go break the count. And he rolled out and rolled in, and he said something to Bryce. I love that. I thought that was fantastic. So I wanted to give him the flowers for that. But to kind of eat what you were saying, just in terms of, like, just tightening up some things. What I wish that I would have loved for them to do was that we know Darby is not climbing Mount Everest. He legit broke his foot in that match.
Which spot?
So speedy recovery. It was when he was coming off the top rope. It was a top rope spot.
From the outside? From the inside, from the outside?
I don't know. I just remember he said we came off the top rope and he landed. I don't know if he knew at the time, but of course they did x-rays but the universe is speaking to that man. Dude, you ain't supposed to be going to Mount Everest right now. So I'm glad that was the case, because how horrible would that have been if they kind of used that as a storyline? This may be my last match, and then he fucking dies trying to climb Mount Everest. And I'm all about you doing what you want to be able to do when it's smart, but he probably just want to chill out on that. But so Jay White, they turn heel right at the end, which I thought was great. Somebody on YouTube had a comment, which I don't think we ever said Jay White was worthless. They made a comment of like, hey, tell me how Jay White is worthless when, he's, they spouted off the record he's had. He's been undefeated so far this year. And I said, we are all major fans of Jay White.
It's actually quite the contrary.
Yeah, it's his position.
That's how we felt about him. Yeah.
He was on the pre-show. He's with the Bang Bang Scissor Gang, and three of us was right. Because what did they do? They broke up the Bang Bang Scissor Gang, right? And immediately kind of thrusted Jay White back into that nasty heel that he should always be for right now anyway. But back to what I was trying to say. They do the gimmick with they're about to break Darby's ankle. And I was telling little Matt, like, okay, so you knew you were breaking up Bang Bang Scissor Gang, I'm sure, the week before. You knew that was happening. And maybe you don't know how you're going to get there, but you knew, okay, on this episode, we're breaking up Bang Bang Scissor Gang. Jay White used in the promo the previous week, man, it would be a shame if something happens to you next week and you can't climb Mount Everest and you grab, a bat, or you grab that chair and you kind of just tap it. And then you run that angle to add more to it. So as soon as you start, we all know. Everybody in the arena knows, everybody on TV is watching, and they're like, oh, he's really about to fucking break his ankle. It still was effective, but imagine if they would have just added that little tweak the week before. Those are the things where I just want them just to a little bit more, right? But I think that comes from just the course of decades and decades of us watching wrestling. We can just pick up on, like, man, maximize that moment. You got a good moment, but make it a great moment. Maximize it.
Man, I thought Jay White, I love that guy, man. I think he's won a great heel. I would love them to do more with him. Every time I see him wrestle and him go do his thing in the ring, and then I see Roddy Strong and as a champion, I get irritated every time.
He's gonna find a way to hate on Roderick.
Bingo.
Hey, let's talk about that Wardlow Samoa Joe.
Oh my gosh, I thought it was so anticlimactic for me. I felt like, did I miss something? Because it was like it never left gears, and he got choked out. I mean, I am going to watch Dynamite this coming Wednesday to kind of see what happens after that. But if I wasn't so much of an AEW fan, I probably would be pissed and say I'm not going to. But that match to me did nothing for me.
Stop. You got to explain why.
Because to me, the match itself felt like it never even switched gears. It just seemed like a completely just like a blah. And for that, I think that was the first match of the night too. Like after following Mercedes.
Are you sure that's why you feel that way though? Because the Mercedes segment was so good.
Who knows? Who knows? Maybe.
I think that may be why you felt that way.
But I still feel like that match didn't leave. And then you, right before the match started, it ends with Adam Cole reading out of the book of whatever he's reading out of, and he's supposed to win, and now he didn't. So like I said, as a fan, I am going to watch on Dynamite to see what happens next. But to me, unless you're ready to now take Wardlow to be completely by himself again, which he should always be, I think, I don't know if I wasn't a huge AEW fan, if I would have been happy with that.
That's nuts. Swerve is winning the title at Dynasty. Why would you flip it on Wardlow just for him to lose it in a month? And you know that he's winning that title at Dynasty.
So we couldn't get any other kind of ending outside of him being choked out? I mean, that's like...
See, okay, so your thing is the choke out part.
Yes.
That's your thing.
And also when the match was just never got out of second gear either.
Out, so at least he didn't tap. I mean, I don't think he made like a job. I think it helped Joe more than it hurt Wardlow, to be honest.
To me, it hurt Wardlow more, though.
Yeah, I guess maybe because I knew he wasn't winning the title.
See, finally, I actually agree with Rhodesia on the AEW topic, because I felt the same way when I actually watched that. Because I'm already out of the whole Undisputed Kingdom thing. I think that those guys look horrible. I mean, like the tag team champions got beat up by one man just a week or so before, right? And then their big bad enforcer gets choked out clean in front of their biggest audience in some time. And now I'm supposed to take this faction and continue to take this faction seriously?
Or you can say now you just added another bullet in the chamber for Samoa Joe. So when Swerve does beat him, it means even more. Like what's more important at this point? Protecting Wardlow or getting Swerve where he needs to get to? And we will all say
the latter. It's the latter
Swerve
for
where
sure.
He needs to get to.
Yeah.
So if he's gotta lose, ain't no shame in losing to Samoa Joe.
You know what? I'm gonna be like the great Donald Trump, man. I'm not gonna let you back me in the corner. There's a third option.
What's the third option?
Is A, not book the match. Number 2, you can protect Wardlow, right? Or and another one, get these clowns off my TV. I don't need to see the underwhelming kingdom. That's right. The underwhelming kingdom of science on my TV, right? I don't need to see them. Like there's a plethora of things you need to do.
You may have just given us our title for this episode. You may have just given us our title, the Under Kingdom. That is fantastic. Yeah, no. Now, if I was booking it, no, I wouldn't have done it that way. I would have probably had the Kingdom try to interfere somehow. Maybe it backfires. I would have done something different.
That's what I'm saying.
Hey, in totality, if we got to do one or the other, maybe I'm just on a high because I know Swerve is winning the title in a month. Like, so I'm just like, all right, whatever we got to do to get to that point, okay, whatever, I'm good with it.
I just got a couple of production things and then I'm done. One, I absolutely loved after the Mercedes thing when Renee, I forgot who she was interviewing. It might have been Joe. She was actually interviewing Joe. The first thing she said was, hey, she addressed that we just saw Mercedes because they just came back from commercial. And she had mentioned that Mercedes return, welcome. That's something I don't think we've gotten before. So I really love that. I love the new, I'm going to call it a commercial, their new Dynamite commercial. That is all fire to me. Like, I thought the production and how it looked, it's very NXT 2.0-ish looking, but I liked it. It was really cool. And then just my last part, my worry and my concern, and that was one of the reasons too why I wanted Ospreay to go to WWE, was him being able to talk on a mic and he proved
Smoked
me wrong.
He smoked it.
I loved his promo.
Yep.
I loved it. And it was him, and you could tell it was him. And for him to have that passion, oh my! And then just like the little things about what I love about Ospreay too, he's super hype, super, and then he tosses the the mic back to Tony Schiavone and shook his hand and left valiantly. Like, I loved everything about that. So where my only concern I felt about Will, that maybe he doesn't have it on the mic, at least on Dynamite, he proved me wrong.
Ospreay's a star. Comes across as a star. It looks like a star. They're doing him right. They're doing Okada right. They started with Mercedes, right? As of right now, and we really early in it, they're 3 for 3. You know, the Copeland and Christian thing is still going on. The jury's out on that. We know the jury's been out. Well, the majority of their signings started strong and then kind of died out outside of Bryan, outside of Cole. They got some really good momentum. So right now, I'm really happy with where they are, and I just gotta keep building. They got to keep building. I guess we'll hear from Mercedes Wednesday. We still don't know what her first feud's going to be. So it should be good. It should be really good. Last thing on AEW, and then we can get out of here. Where does Mercedes debut rank in AEW? And just how much you enjoyed it. So just enjoyment level, not impact. We'll talk about that in a few weeks. But enjoyment level, when it was, 8:15 or 8:20, whatever time that segment was over, are you putting it after Punk 1 or 2? You putting it before Punk 1 or 2? You putting it before Cole? You putting it after Cole? You putting it after Bryan? Where are you putting it at?
They're close to me. Punk and Mercedes are close. I kind of, being a big CM Punk fan, I mean, I thought the guy was never going to come back and wrestle again. Just based on all the interviews and his attitude towards it. And it seemed like it just almost changed overnight. So seeing him back was big for me as a fan. But I love all the positivity around Mercedes and her debut. I think they did right with her debut. I think they did everything they could do. I think they did it correct way, and I love that she got the proper intro into that company. I guess I know it's a cop out. I might say they're side by side.
You going with a tie?
Yeah, they're right there. They're right there.
My favorite is purely just based off of my fandom for the person, and I still don't know who, to me personally, who's gonna beat the return of Bryan Danielson. That meant so much to me. That hit me so deep. So mine is Bryan. So I would put Mercedes probably after that.
So after that one.
Yeah. And
what added to the Bryan was because you had Cole 30 seconds before that. It was the back-to-back. Mm-hmm. That was just like, what the fuck is happening right now? Whoa, what? I'll probably go. In terms of enjoyment level, I'm going to go third. I'm going to go. Nothing's ever going to touch Punk his first comeback. Nothing outside of if MJF was to debut at WrestleMania and cost Cody the match, right? Like something, it would have to be something right. That astronomical for that to touch the last dance or the first dance, I think they called it. So give me that one first. And then I would take the Cole and Bryan combo because we were there live. Because I just remember that feeling of, man, they have really arrived. Just the glee in the concessions, all of us walking to the car. It's just like, yo, what did we just see? I can't believe they did that. And then I would go Mercedes. But I would probably say from a perspective of watching it and feeling like this can be massive, it's number 2. Besides, after Punk.
Still Punk over first, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is the feeling I had watching it. It's just like, if they do this right. We know what Mercedes brings to the table. Hell, you brought up her song that's on Apple Music.
Oh.
It debuted like top 20 after the first 24 hours of like all songs.
Wow.
Her fan base is like that big. They're that, rabid for her. The song ain't that good. It's okay, but the top 20?
Don't get us canceled. Of all the shit that we've said, don't get us canceled because you said her song is just okay.
Hey, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't even gonna talk about the song. I wasn't even gonna do it.
I like
How about we all agree? We all
like
agree
the
that what is known need not be said. How about that?
I don't want to talk about it.
Hey,
but what we can't talk about next week is that we got a brand new tournament happening on AEW ROH television.
You have the brackets in front of you?
I don't, but we can look at them next week, man. Rhodesia, I know you're gonna be excited about this. We got the ROH TV Women's Championship. Yes.
Oh, stop. Whoa. I thought you were talking about the tag team tournament bracket.
No, baby, I'm talking about that ROH TV Women's Championship, baby.
We got two tournaments.
Oh,
come on. Put that right in my vein.
Wait, what am I doing? What am I clapping for? The crowd.
You guys can talk that.
I hosted all by myself.
Well, follow the socials. Check up on me. Make sure I'm feeling all right. Y'all may not hear from me on Wednesday. I can't talk about no ROH bracket tournament. That's not happening. We out of here, y'all. Catch y'all on Wednesday. That's nuts.